Good morning and welcome to the trade setup right here on BloombergQuint Live. I'm Neeraj Shah and it promises to be an interesting day of trade. It's the first day of the new week and there's lots happened over the weekend. Remember, G7 have put forth a rival infrastructure plan to China's One Belt, One Road initiative as well. And there's a lot of to and fro happening out there too. So there's lots happening across the world, essentially, politically as well as financially. Multiple things have happened in crypto. Elon Musk has said that they'll start accepting Bitcoin as Tesla payments once again. So lots of fun and games. Let's try and narrow it down to things that will impact our equity market trades today, right? Because we can't talk about everything. So first, there's this chart on the Bloomberg terminal, which is very pertinent. And I want to bring it up because it's something that we've spoken about now for a number of days, which is the bullishness on crude. Now, one doesn't know what will happen. We can only merely point out the indicators as they stand. This chart will show you how hedge funds have boosted the net long positions in US crude to the highest in almost 3 years. This is not upstream companies. This is not crude related stocks. This is crude, the commodity, and a highest net long positions in US crude in over 3 years. It shows the bent of the market, which way the market is betting on. Keep in mind, I mean, ignore what the Nigerian oil minister is saying about oil could move up to $200. That's all, I mean, that's just too long-term and too heroic a target. But near-term bullishness, probably very likely. So you got to think about that. Anyways, let's talk about specific pockets of strength and weakness. Actually, before we get to that, let's look at Asia and SGX Nifty and show what that is doing. A lot of Asian markets are shut, to remind you. Hong Kong is shut. Asia, Australia is shut. So a lot of Asian markets are not giving you the cues that you would ideally want. So keep that in mind. The SGX Nifty, the last time I checked, was pointing towards about 20, 30 odd points in the red. So a flattish start and expected out of the SGX Nifty in the session today as well. And yeah, that's about 60 odd points. Okay, third of a percentage worsened maybe a little bit from the last time I saw, which was about some time ago. But nevertheless, so about 40, 50 odd points in the red is what we might have. Let's wait and watch, really. I mean, it's a bit of a quiet day on the Asian bourses because of 3 large markets shut. So what to watch this week? I think most people are waiting to see if the Fed tweaks its forecast for interest rates or inflation. So that is one. And locally, I think IPO subscriptions may show some extent of optimism if indeed they get subscribed well. I don't think any of the IPOs is so large enough that it will suck out major liquidity out of the primary market, but do watch out. Bunch of them hitting together and therefore would be interesting. By the way, I must tell you, all of our almost all of these IPOs are covered in the All You Need to Know series on BloombergQuint. So you can hear the interviews, read about the IPOs on our website. So you covered on that front. Now, what is it that the equity markets will watch out for? First, very quickly, the MOV function on the Bloomberg terminal. A lot of you ask me every time, which is the software. So it's the Bloomberg terminal. And there's this particular function which shows how the markets behave. As you can see, there's a bit of skepticism, even though the index ended in the green, around the market breadth. 231 advancing to 269 declining. And while the quantum of decliners, the percentage falls on the decliners wasn't very large, a lot of profit booking was seen in some of those mid-cap names. And all of these had rallied quite a bit. So that is part one. But look at the winners. And there was some serious buying seen in some of the Reliance Group entities, Alok and TV18 and the likes. E-Clerks, because of a very good set of numbers, was up 20%. We'll speak to the management today, by the way, at about 9:30. So you may want to tune in for that. That stock was locked on upper circuit with heavy buying. Let's see if it continues today. There's some strength in Thyrocare. There were some deal announcements expected there. Greaves Cotton because of the EV push, and we'll talk about that too. And Sale post the numbers was up about 5%. So what's the trade setup? I think, frankly, if you look at the trade setup, US VIX, India VIX, all of these are in a bit of a corrective phase. And until the volatility returns in a big way, you're probably still not in bad hands. It keeps on dropping over the last 1 month. The key is, after having dropped so much, if it just reverts back to mean as well, that could bring in a bit of volatility and a bit of corrective moves in the market. So do watch out. Having corrected so much, could there be a bounce back? That's the question that everybody is asking. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Though most people ask this question even when VIX was about a few points higher from here, because even then it had fallen quite a bit. I think the underperformance in select stocks in focus could spoil the mid-cap party to my mind, and I'll talk about those. And Nifty I.T metals could be the outperformance, along with Reliance Industries. A lot of expectations around what Reliance could do. So keep that at the back of your mind. Anu Jain was speaking at the BQH event yesterday, and she was saying this. Could we enter a phase wherein everything else stays quiet and Reliance starts performing? Let's wait and watch. So with this setup in mind, what are the stocks that one should watch out for? The bunch of stocks that are in focus today, and you got to keep an eye out for all. I haven't kind of covered all. Obviously, I can't cover, so I've covered the most important ones. Actually, before these, can we start off with the two-wheeler names and go by that? So, TVS Motors, Greaves Cotton, Hero. Now, FAME 2 scheme has been revised with higher incentives for two-wheelers, and I reckon from whatever little I understood, the price of some of the electric two-wheelers might come off as well. FAME stands for faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles. The electric two-wheelers increase in the demand incentive has been increased to 15,000 per kWh versus 10,000 earlier, with the maximum cap at about 40% of the cost of vehicles. But the point being, this is a positive development for most of the electric two-wheeler manufacturers, and therefore do watch out for all of them. I have to tell you though that Greaves Cotton had already rallied a little bit in Friday's session, up about 6%, a sharp bump up that came in. So from 130, 132 odd to it went up to about 145 odd. So some of the stocks have had a bit of an up move, but keep in mind it's still a net positive for both. So TVS and Greaves in particular. So do watch out for these. BHEL, companies revise or receive the regulatory approvals for incorporation of subsidiary, the demerger of the surplus land and asset as part of the strategic divestment process and undertaken by the government of India. So the big step move forward has happened. I wouldn't be surprised if BHEL has a strong reaction today. I'd watch out for the other set of stocks, all of which have some nervousness around it. Now, Adani group of stocks. Today, the ET, I think the ET or FE have reported that 3 FPIs owning a large share of Adani Group stocks are under SEBI scanner or accounts have been frozen. Saturday and Friday and Thursday, a bunch of media outlets reported about the rise in the stocks. Sucheta Dalal allegedly spoke about that group. Don't quite know that in a tweet, but she referred to one group of stocks which have really rallied. I could think of none other than Adani Group stocks, but I'm not saying she said that because she's not said that per se. Sun TV, because of the con call that happened, wherein the fund manager Jiten Doshi from Inam spoke about how the dividend cut or not less dividend distribution is a big disappointment. It's out there on social media, the video of the con call, the audio of the con call, and you can hear it as well. But could that bring about some volatility in Sun TV? That remains to be seen. PNB Housing Finance, there was some note about how the deal with Carlyle is under scanner, so maybe that could have an impact. Lupin, the Somerset facility in New Jersey in the US has received the US FDA comments, and therefore that could be under a bit of an issue for Lupin as well. So these are 3 or 4 names which have some issues around them, and you should keep an eye out for each of these if you have them in the portfolio, or maybe shorting opportunities, who knows. Results impact seen on Anupam Rasayan. First quarter numbers, first release after their IPO, but watch out, could be interesting. Lumax Auto, again, the numbers seem very impressive, as did Edelweiss's numbers optically, and as did Care Ratings numbers. Actually, Care Ratings numbers really stood out for me. So these are the 4 names, 3 or 4 names that I believe everybody should keep an eye out for, particularly Anupam Rasayan and Care Ratings in particular. So do watch out for these. And if you're wondering why I haven't spoken about BHEL numbers till now, I'm bringing you the Kotak note out here, post the results. They are saying the large provisions and the write-off taken cast doubts on the ability to release the remaining working capital from the company. The weak gross margin cast doubt on the ability to report top line high enough to cover fixed costs. They have lowered the estimates and incorporate value of the unutilized land to arrive at a fair value of 34 rupees per share. The fair value is increased because of the land parcels that BHEL has. But I mean, their fair value is a fair distance away from the current market price of BHEL. So a lot of people are saying that the steps being taken in BHEL are similar to some of the others, wherein all the negatives are accounted for, taken into consideration, and then the divestment happens, land divestment happens, what have you. So a lot of stories floating around. Some of these could be true as well. BHEL could do well as well. But I'm just bringing you, because I don't have an opinion on this one at all, I'm bringing you what one of the brokerages is saying with regards to BHEL. Again, they could be wrong, by the way. Mr. Market knows it best, but do be careful. So net, um, uh, before I get to what stood out for me, net, what you should be keeping an eye out for today. Metal stocks could do well. The steel price trends seem strong, so you never know, and they're returning in favor, so to say. You do watch out for Reliance Industries in particular, and IT as well in general. So those are a few things that you should watch out for. A lot of individual stocks might have some issues today, so do watch out for those as well. And a couple of result reactions. It's an okay week in terms of results. Coal India is the big one, and there are a few other small ones. So not much in terms of results. A lot of mid caps, of course, but nothing heavyweight in terms of results to come out, at least to the best of my knowledge this week. So we'll watch out for bottom up stories. But yeah, be careful, as I've said repeatedly in the whole of the last week, etc., that some of the quant indicators do indicate that there could be issues at hand. Lastly, what stood out for us out here, and me in particular, well, Blue Origin auctioned the seat on the first space flight with Jeff Bezos for $28 million. Now, I didn't have that kind of money. Even if you did, you can't now ride with Jeff, because somebody else has already won the auction. It'll happen sometime, I think, this month or the next. It'll be interesting to watch out for. Thanks so much, viewers, for tuning into the Trade Setup. If you are stepping out because the economy is opening up across the country, please mask up and stay safe.